There were local elections in Germany. The first results are in from the elections in 3 states, and it looks like the far-right party in Germany has won. This is the first time they've won a state election since the Nazis. The current ruling parties didn't do as well in the polls as they'd hoped. Put another way, this is the first time since Hitler that the far-right has won such an important election in Germany. The far-right alternative for Germany, AfD, which some say is neo-Nazi, came in first in the state of Thuringia. Political observers say the AfD is gaining power fast. They think the party could become the ruling party in a year. Another interesting result was that the new far-left BSW party came in third in Thuringia and Saxony. In a nutshell, it looks like the extremists have come out on top in the elections. If extremists win elections in a society, it means there are some pretty serious problems there. This is a historic win for our party, and the results are a real setback for the government in Berlin, says Alice Weidel, one of the AfD's national leaders. The results are a setback for the Berlin government and for German democracy as a whole. The latest projections from public broadcasters ARD and ZDF, based on exit polls, show the AfD winning 33% of the vote in the eastern German state of Thuringia. Germany's second-largest party, the Christian Democratic Union, CDU, came in second in Thuringia with only 24.5% of the vote. That means the far-right anti-immigrant, and some would say neo-Nazi, AfD got about a third of the votes cast in Thuringia. The coalition partner, Chancellor Scholz's Social Democratic Party, barely made the 5% threshold to enter the state parliament. In Saxony, another East German state in the heart of the former communist East Germany, the AfD got 31% of the vote. Polls are showing that between 31.5% and 32% of the vote is going to the conservative CDU. It looks like the votes between the AfD and the CDU are pretty much tied in Saxony. If the AfD wins in both states, it'll be a surprise. No other parties are willing to form a coalition with the AfD. That's the stance they're taking for now. So it's not clear the AfD will actually end up in power in these states, but they've got enough votes to block decisions in these states. When the AfD first came on the political scene about 10 years ago, it was a pretty extreme movement. People labeled it neo-Nazi and avoided it. These days, though, the AfD is becoming one of the mainstream parties in Germany. It's actually on its way to becoming the largest party in Germany, with state votes in excess of 30%. It's reminiscent of Adolf Hitler's political rise in the 1920s and 1930s. What's more, the AfD's extreme ideas are finding a counterpart in center-right parties like the CDU. German politics is moving to the right, and even further to the far right, which is leading to extreme nationalism, religious and cultural discrimination. In a statement to Reuters, Chancellor Scholz said he was worried about the AfD's results in Saxony and Thuringia. "We can't get used to this. It's not going to work. The AfD is doing a lot of damage to Germany. They're weakening the economy, dividing society, and ruining our country's reputation." While German Chancellor Scholz said, "Germany cannot get used to it," he seems to be forgetting that the AfD has become the new normal in Germany. Germany is gradually moving away from the views of centrist politicians, and it seems there's little they can do to stop it. It's becoming increasingly likely that the new Germany will become the Germany of the AfD. The AfD is under surveillance by the country's domestic intelligence service for suspected extremism. One of its leaders, Jörg Hauck, has been found guilty twice by a German court of deliberately using Nazi rhetoric. Party members often use slogans that were used during the Nazi era, during Hitler's reign, without acknowledging that that's what they're referencing. They often bring the exuberant slogans of the Nazi era into the present day. In May, Maximilian Krah, one of the party's most prominent candidates, told an Italian newspaper that not all of the SS, the main paramilitary force of the Nazis, were guilty. It was a pretty mild defense of the Nazis, but Krah had to bow out of the race because of public pressure. Another thing about the AfD is that it's got close ties to Russia and China. Some even claim that Russia is providing all kinds of material and moral support for the rise of the AfD. It's rumored that Putin is secretly backing the AfD to stir up trouble in Germany. I imagine Putin is pleased about the rise of the AfD. And why wouldn't he be? It's understandable that Putin would prefer the AfD to a German government that either declared war on him or supported Ukraine in the war it declared. After all, the AfD neither supported Russia in the Ukraine war nor declared war on Russia. But it's not really fair to say that Russia and Putin are the only reason for the big changes in German politics and society. The AfD is against the war in Ukraine, but they also have other issues they're against. For instance, they're also against environmental movements. They're against placing burdens on the economy and taxes on farmers and car owners to protect the environment. They're not in favor of multiculturalism. They're also against the European Union and the Euro. They say, if we're elected, we'll take Germany out of the EU and the Euro. We'll bring back the German currency, which we call the mark. The party has taken a particularly strong stance against immigration, particularly when it comes to Islam and Muslims. Put simply, they're against immigration, migrants, and foreigners in general, but they're especially against Muslims. Just before the elections, there was a knife attack in Solingen, Germany. This was a win for the AfD. The AfD views this attack and other criminal cases like it as a migration issue. They believe that immigrants have made our country less secure. The security problem in Germany is really a migration problem. The AfD is sticking to its guns on this, and the fact that such an attack happened in Solingen just before the elections probably gave the party a boost in votes. As you may recall, an illegal immigrant from Syria attacked a festival crowd with a knife, killing 3 people and wounding 8 others. The AfD is now the second largest party in Germany's European Parliament elections, and it's poised to win over a state, or maybe even 2, in the upcoming state elections. As in France, the far right is making rapid gains in Germany. It's only a matter of time. It might take time, but it's an unstoppable march. I have to say, I'm sorry to say this. The current government in Germany is a coalition. The coalition includes the center-left party, the Social Democrats, the environmentalist Green Party, and the liberal, pro-business Free Democrats. So there's the right, there's the left, and there are the environmentalists. As it turns out, the government includes representatives from all parts of the political spectrum. This is a pretty bad situation. Can you explain why it's a bad thing? The right is in power, and they're not doing a good job. If they keep failing, you can always elect the left. If the left is in power, you can always elect the right. But all parties are in power. There's the right, there's the left, and there are environmentalists. So, who will you choose when you're feeling frustrated? The AfD is positioning itself as the only truly different party. If you choose me, I'll make Germany a better place. I'll take care of all your current issues. I'll deport these immigrants and cut off aid to them. I'll take the country out of the European Union. I'll get rid of the environmental issues that are costing you so much. I'll end the war in Ukraine. That means you won't have energy problems. I'm the only one who can make Germany prosperous and rich again. The other parties are just parties, made up of people who don't really stand for anything, says the AfD. The AfD offers simple solutions. It doesn't really get to the root of the issue. It just talks about the problems and says it will solve them. It points fingers, but it doesn't say how it'll solve the problems. It's not really possible for him to say anyway. What's the plan after the elections? It looks like the AfD got about a third of the votes in Thuringia and Saxony. Of course, we still don't have the final results. We'll have a better idea once the results are in. It looks like the AfD will have some kind of veto power in these states, even now. The AfD first made its mark in rural areas, then moved on to towns and cities. They've already won small municipalities and parliamentary seats, and now they're winning state elections. The AfD is currently the second largest party in the country. The general elections are coming up next year. If the AfD can just gain a few more votes over the next 12 months, it'll become the biggest party in Germany. In a nutshell, the far-right anti-EU, anti-immigrant, and even racist views are gaining ground in Germany. The future of Germany could look very different if the far-right gains power. The Germany we know and love might be coming to an end. Germany might even cease to be Germany. Its domestic politics, economic policies, and foreign policy could all change radically. This is the first thing that's going to change in Germany. We could go on about this for days. The second big structural change is the slowdown of the economy and its inability to keep up with global competition. German companies are having a hard time keeping up with the rapidly digitalizing and revolutionary world economy. A lot of German companies are moving to places like East Asia and China because they're not happy with the business environment in Germany. Despite what the government says, Germany can't get out of China, and the factories that leave China can't come back. They have to rebuild their factories in other countries. The first people to suffer as a result of the German economy's difficulty in keeping up with change are workers, farmers, and the lower classes. Their standard of living is going down, and so is their purchasing power. Even though their salaries seem to be going up, they don't have the buying power they used to have for food, energy, and other things. This group is feeling the stress. They can't live on their salaries. This is particularly the case when it comes to retirement. There's a kind of impoverishment at play here. This impoverishment is driving politics and society towards extremism. This is the second major change in Germany. The first is the rise of racism and the far right, and the second is the slowdown in the economy and the difficulties in competing globally. They're actually connected. Sometimes they're even cause and effect. The third big change is that Germany was a pacifist country during the Cold War. Even though it was part of the Western Alliance, its military was kept at a relatively low level. After World War II, Germany was disarmed. It looks like Europe is heating up, and there's been an increase in armament and militarization. It looks like Germany is getting caught up in this trend too. It's worth noting that war is currently taking place right next to Germany. It seems that almost all countries are preparing for war. Meanwhile, the economic and social problems of the lower classes are becoming more and more pronounced. People are frustrated and fed up because the center political parties are unable to find solutions. When you combine all the money flowing into weapons and extremism, it can lead to very dangerous social explosions. Could we see another Hitler-like, Nazi-like government in Germany? Now, when people say this, they may say, "No way, that's not possible." Is there a middle ground between Hitler and the Nazis? It's especially hard to see the resemblance when you look at the leaders of the AfD. They make some pretty moderate speeches from time to time. It's clear that Hollywood movies, literature, and Western politicians have all demonized the Nazis. They were presented to us as if the Nazis were not real people. But they were people just like us, and they were real. They were just like us, with all the flaws and shortcomings that entails. And it wasn't long before. There's a chance that there might be Nazis in Germany again. We could even see them in Italy. It could even happen in countries like France or England. Extremism and racism are problems that have taken hold in Europe. We've seen this play out many times before on this continent. As a matter of fact, these problems can pop up in any country. So, we shouldn't ignore these possibilities. I don't think we'll see the same Germany as we did in the 1930s. But the Europe we know and love is no longer the Europe we know, and Germany is going to have to weather its own share of it.